I want to talk about the decency of ordinary people versus the indecency of the Biden administration. It really shows how American society is divided, not even straight across partisan lines so much as between people who work hard, make sacrifices, give up a lot for their country, and speak up. They're brave, they take risks. That is the ordinary American. And then on the other side, you've just got these callous, indifferent, who could care less leaders. I'm thinking here of Jake Sullivan. I'm thinking here of Anthony Blinken. By the way, while the Taliban was taking Kabul, guess where Anthony Blinken was? In the Hamptons. I'm thinking of Joe Biden. And what a shocking contrast between our people, decent, and our leadership, not. Here's a heart-wrenching clip of an audio. This was called in by Kathy McCollum, the mother of a fallen U.S. Marine, Riley McCollum. And she's calling in to the Andrew Wilkow radio show. It's really very touching. Listen.
Go ahead.
My son was one of the Marines that died yesterday. 20 years and 6 months old, getting ready to come home from frickin' Jordan to be with his wife to watch the birth of his son. And that feckless, dementia-ridden piece of crap just sent my son to die. I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning to Marines at my door telling me my son was dead.
Wow. You can feel here the raw emotion, the sheer disgust. And the disgust is literally an ordinary person's revolt against the sheer futility of this, the unnecessariness of it. On a much smaller scale, here is Marine Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller. And this guy is, in the middle ranks, but he notices that no one in the military is speaking up against this complete, I wouldn't just say failure, collapse of leadership, derogation of leadership, sheer almost indifference to what's happening in Afghanistan, the human catastrophe, the loss of U.S. strategic interests, the long-term impact of all this, the rise of terrorism that it stimulates and feeds. And so Stuart Scheller speaks out against this, and guess what? He's the one guy who gets fired. Now think about all the people who deserve to be fired. That ridiculous General Milley, the military top brass who have been lying to us for 20 years, Jake Sullivan, Anthony Blinken, Biden himself. All these are the people who should be held accountable. But no, accountability comes to the one guy who calls them on it, who actually demands accountability. Now, of course, the Biden administration's stance is, listen, we're taking stern action. We just got the 2 chief planners of ISIS-K who planned this attack. Well, they didn't. They're lying again. Ask simply, well, what are their names? Name these guys. We're not going to be releasing their names. Show us some proof that you actually got them. We don't really have any proof. And then, of course, more lately, when informed about all the civilian casualties where there's plenty of evidence, people who were unnecessarily killed, collateral damage, you might call it. And then the Pentagon goes, we're reassessing the impact of that attack. Quote, it is unclear what may have happened. So suddenly they now realize they maybe didn't get the 2 guys. Maybe they got 2 camels instead. And of course, no wonder they haven't released their names. Camels don't have names. And then here's Biden. I mean, contrast the realism from Marine Lieutenant Colonel Scheller or from Kathy McCollum, just the way that they're responding in a normal way against Biden. Biden couldn't care less. There he is at the service to honor the fallen soldiers. He's looking at his watch. Well, I got better things to do. Why am I here? Isn't it nap time already? I mean, this is Biden. And if this seems like an anomaly, like a one-time thing, oh no, this is a guy who acts like this all the time. I mean, here is a guy who, when he was being interviewed by George Stephanopoulos, and George Stephanopoulos was talking about those horrible scenes, people falling out of planes, people desperate, Biden goes, well, that was 4 or 5 days ago. It's sort of like, why are you bringing this up now? Old news, man. That's history. Come on, man. So all of this I think the human element here, the inhuman element, is coming out when you're dealing with these Democrats. They really don't care. Michelle Obama standing there, why are we making all this silliness about a flag? This is their true face. They try to hide their face, and they hide their face at election time really well, but every now and then at critical moments it comes out. Now, what we have done in Afghanistan is just very grim. Namely, we have essentially unleashed terrorism on a previously unprecedented scale. Biden has basically turned the Taliban not just into the most powerful terrorist group in the world, but one of the world's biggest arms dealers, because they've got all this weaponry and material. They don't even need all of it. So what are they going to do? They're going to put it on the international market. And we see in Afghanistan already reports that Al-Qaeda is mobilizing again. Al-Qaeda goes, wait a minute, we're not out for the count. People don't mention our name anymore, but we're training. And they sure are. ISIS. So ISIS, Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, all these groups have now been given a kind of hospitable regime and a clean slate to begin their operations. Here's from a military source, a kind of amazing graphic on what the Biden administration left behind. And when you think of the negligence of this, ask yourself, could this even be accidental? We left behind 64,000 machine guns, 358,000 assault rifles. We left behind 22,000 Humvees. Think about that. 155 mine-proof vehicles. Think of the weaponry here. And then 33 helicopters. What's the excuse for that? 33 Blackhawks, 4 C-130 transport planes. Now think about the cost of these things. 23 Embraers, 28 Cessnas, 10 strike aircraft. I mean, the American people have paid for all this. Hundreds of millions, well, billions of dollars. And, the military could care less. There were also huge stashes of cash. It's almost like it's your cash. It's not their cash. What could they care? They don't have to get it all out. Let the Taliban use it. What's the big deal? We're out of here. So this is the approach that the Biden people have taken. And now they're working hand in hand with the Taliban. They're literally directing Americans and American allies to Taliban checkpoints. Why? Because the Americans didn't want to keep control of Kabul. They were almost offered it by the Taliban. You can keep control of Kabul, and Biden decided, and the military leadership conveyed this, we don't want it. We just kind of want to get our guys through the airport. You can keep control of Kabul. This decision, it seems to me, is so scandalous. It warrants hearings, investigations, possibly impeachment. Think of it, Trump was impeached for a phone call. These are horrific actions taken by this administration, and the consequences are right before us. They're measurable, they're destructive, and they're long-term.